We are going live to an update about a fatal fire that happened in Louisville. Let's listen in to the fire chief right now.
You turned off for a second? What? I figured you turned off for a second. Yeah.
Is that my phone?
Can you hear me?
I can't have
Good. All right. Good. You're good. All right. Where y'all want me to look? Down the middle. Down the middle, like here. In this area. Okay. Yeah. Chief, I'm sure you know the joke. Can you just start by saying spelling your first last name for us?
Sure. Ryan O'Neill, BRIANO''EILL, Chief of the Louisville Fire Department.
Can you just walk us through what happened this morning?
Sure. So call came in at 5:47 in the a.m. for a house fire with possibility of multiple rescues. We had crews on the scenes in less than 3 minutes. There was, of course, a report of the rescue, so they immediately made entry. They were able to get out 3 victims right away, very rapid, even despite the fire conditions and smoke conditions. Unfortunately, there were 2 fatalities on the scene, 1 adult, 1 juvenile, and the third person was another adult that was transported to the hospital, and as latest that we've heard, is still in critical condition.
Were the 2 deceased when fire crews got there, or was it after they pulled them out?
They were deceased. So when we enter into a fire like that, we search for people. We never know if they're unconscious, if they're injured, if they're already deceased. So we get to them, we get them outside as quick as we can, so we can immediately start medical care. Unfortunately, as soon as they got the victim out, they realized that the 2 were deceased.
Obviously, still early stages of the investigation. Any idea how this may have happened?
So the investigation will be going on for some time. We've got other agencies involved. That's one thing that metro agencies work very well together, from the dispatchers that took the initial call to the police and EMS on the scene, and then we've got arson and police working together on the investigation.
Chief, can you describe the flames out there this morning?
So when they first arrived, you had heavy fire on the first floor and smoke conditions throughout the entire structure.
And this is a 2-story home?
It's a 1.5-story home, so yeah, there were a couple rooms on the second floor. So sure, 2-story, but we usually refer to that as 1.5 since the second floor isn't, the entire.
Do we have any early indications as to cause how it could have happened?
That's going to be under investigation for a while.
Is there anything about the building, the home itself, that made it particularly hard, maybe for the victim in this case to leave or escape?
Nothing unique. It's a typical structure down there on Cecil, typical home. But unfortunately, that's the thing that people need to remember. One, there were some working smoke detectors in the home, but people need to make sure you've got that, make sure you know how to get out of your house. But this is just a lesson that smoke and fire are no joke, and it doesn't take much smoke that can actually stop a person. So if anyone ever does have any type of fire in their house, get out immediately. Don't try to fight it on your own, because it doesn't take very much smoke to overwhelm a person.
Chief, you said there were working smoke detectors in the home, is that right?
That's correct. When our crews made entry, they did hear working smoke detectors that were going off.
That being said, does that raise any suspicion as far as the people, they weren't able to get out in time?
Not necessarily. You can never tell if people are heavy sleepers. You can never tell what exactly conditions they faced when they heard that. So we don't like to speculate on that.
Is there any
Is the home a
possibility this
total
could have
loss?
been
Can you
criminal?
speak to how fast it spread?
I'm sorry?
Is the home a total loss, and can you speak to how fast it spread?
No, the home is not a total loss. There were heavy fire in 1 room on the first floor, but it's certainly salvageable. And I'm sorry, who's that?
Yeah, I was wondering, is there any possibility that this could have been criminal?
That's always part of the investigation, but we'll let our arson investigators look into that.
Any clues or rooms you're looking into specifically?
Nothing we can talk about, no.
Were all 3 of the victims in the same room?
No, they were not in the same room, not in the same area.
Were they the only occupants?
There were other occupants that were able to get out, and we're still in the process of reuniting all the family.
Was one of them a bedroom, considering a child was lost to?
They were just different areas of the home.
And you said this is a family unit?
It is a single family dwelling. It's a structure, but as far as the relationships of everybody, we don't know that.
Conditions this time of year, the rain this morning,
how much did that potentially impact or worsen the situation?
Not really. Our firefighters are trained and prepared to deal with anything, whether it's rain, snow, sleet, or whatever. Like I said, they were on scene in less than 3 minutes.
Meaning, like, conditions weren't like dry coming into today. That might have impacted.
The fire was on the interior, so.
I know that a situation like this can be really hard on you all. You have to respond to situations like this constantly. You've got 2 people dead, including a kid. How is this impacting firefighters in your department?
It's always very difficult. Our firefighters are forced to face all the ugliness that can happen, all the tragedies, and it's something that they have to carry with them. But on that note, we actually have training going on today and tomorrow for our members to get a peer support group up and running so that we can not only kind of point people in the right direction to seek that mental health that they might need, but they can reach out to one another. So we have some trained firefighters that can help make that first conversation and push them towards the mental health help that they might need.
Coming from an incident like this, any advice you have to folks specifically when it comes to preventative measures? It's easy to just say have a smoke tool, but anything more that you can offer for folks listening?
So as a general rule, there's nothing specific to this one incident, but just as a general rule, always have working smoke detectors. Make sure you know the ways out of your home. Have at least 2 ways to exit a home in case one of them is blocked by heat or fire. And also, a good housekeeper is really the best fire prevention. Make sure you don't overload circuits. Be careful with the use of space heaters. Be careful with cooking and things like that. It's all the stuff that we teach frequently, but you can never be too careful because, as I said, it doesn't take much heat and smoke to overcome a person.
Can you speak to this time of year when people are trying to heat their house, it's colder outside? Is there any indication that this situation was part of that, or any other safety tips related to this type of time of year?
Well, all of those things are always part of the investigation. That's what our arson unit is taking care of right now. So it's all the same tips that I just mentioned, the way that people can be careful and try to be as safe as possible in their homes.
If you could just speak from a human standpoint, this is something that weighs on the community when we hear that people in our area have died from something as scary as a house fire. Can you just speak from that standpoint and share your message with the community?
This is a terrible tragedy. We share that tragedy throughout the community, not only from our side, from the emergency responders, from the dispatcher that took the call, that feels a little helpless as they're trying to send units to help, to the EMS members that showed up, to the Metro Police members that help us, and then the firefighters that actually were there, that made the entry, that brought those people out in an attempt to save their lives. It's very, very difficult. It's very painful. So all I can say is in the spirit of the holiday season, look out for one another, be careful for one another, care about each other.
Was this just a typical family unit? Can you give us details on that? Was it
Absolutely. No, this is a typical family home like you would see throughout our community.
So you say you don't know if all the people inside were family members?
That we don't know.
Okay.
And if it was somebody else inside that made that 911 call, or if it was neighbors?
Not sure who made the calls, no.
And how many firefighters were there at the time?
So the fire itself, we had about 30 firefighters that responded. They were able to get the fire under control in about 20 minutes.
The victims were from a foreign country?
I'm sorry?
The victims were from a foreign country?
That's all part of the investigation.
How much of an uptick in house fires is there now that it's starts to get cold? I'm sure you guys prepared for that.
We frequently see an uptick as it gets colder. We'll see a little bit more fires, but there's really no way to map that accurately. Well, I'm sorry, we do map it accurately, but to predict it, it goes up and down. There were others that got out safely. That's all part of the investigation.
And you don't know the relationship between the adult?
No, we do not.
Do you know the rough age of the people?
We do not, no. Don't know that either.
Which hospital were they taken to?
It's University of Louisville to the burn unit.
Do we know if that adult is in any kind of
The University of Louisville to the burn unit.
Do we know if that adult is in any kind of surgery right now, or
That I don't know. I know that they're in the burn unit and in critical condition.
And just one more quick question, unless anybody else has any. This particular area, have you noticed any other recent fires in the area or anything?
No. Bobby, did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm trying to write down y'all's questions. I didn't hear what all y'all asked that you couldn't answer, just so I can get those to you.
Okay.
Today.
Anything else you want to add?
I think we covered it. We talked about fire safety. We talked about the tragedy. Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah. No, appreciate y'all coming out. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, folks, for staying with me here on this stream, coming to you live from Louisville Fire about that tragic house fire that happened this morning in the Chickasaw neighborhood. Unfortunately, we know that 2 people have died, 1 adult, 1 juvenile. This house fire happened in the 1100 block of Cecil Avenue this morning around 5:47. Louisville Fire got there relatively soon. I'm reading some information that I took as notes and also from our web story that we have on wave3.com. Again, 1 adult, 1 juvenile has died. We don't know their ages. We don't know their names yet. There was another person who was taken to U of L's burn unit in critical condition. We do know that there were working smoke detectors in the home. The home is not a total loss. Arson is investigating. There were other occupants in the house that were able to get out. This was a single family home. Louisville Fire talked about how difficult it is when you see these sorts of tragedies, especially when you have fatalities. It's just heartbreaking, especially when it comes to a juvenile who has died. 30 firefighters responded. They were able to get the fire under control in about 20 minutes, but they do see an uptick in fires as it gets colder outside. So they're urging folks to, check your smoke detectors, have an exit plan, at least 2 ways out of your home. Know these things before they happened. This was a 1.5-story home. Again, you probably heard Sean Bowdy asking some questions there during that press conference. He's going to have much more coming up for us here on Wave News later today. Again, that house fire, an update that we just shared with you about that fire that happened in Cecil Avenue. 2 people have died. 1 person is in critical condition. No firefighters were hurt while putting out this fire. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm Myra Ansari. I hope you have a good Monday so far. Have a good day.